on marching on. Head down till the work is done. Waiting on that morning sun. Soldier, keep on marching on. Wanna take a drink of that promised land. Gotta wipe the dirt off of your hands. It gets hard to stand. Soldier, keep on marching on. Head down to the work is done.
One of the biggest complaints people share about the Star Wars prequels is that the lightsaber fights seem more like dances, that the choreography, while very complex and fancy, now looks too showy, too fancy. I've heard people describe it as just dancing more than it is fighting. But what if I told you that martial arts and combat can, in some cases, be like a dance? In fact, certain martial arts like capoeira are essentially dances. So comparing a martial artist to a dancer isn't too inaccurate. So now imagine for a moment you took someone trained to be as graceful and flexible as a dancer, then taught her how to take that dance and make it deadly. Meet the Nuxia. The name means female fighter, and in traditional Chinese literature the name usually refers to a female fighter, so you can make that connection to the Onabu geisha if you wish, although there are some slight differences. In the For Honor lore, they're described as female bodyguards, and this is very weak lore building. I'll be honest, if there's one thing For Honor did not do well, it's establishing a lore for the Wu Lin heroes. Believe it or not, they didn't tell us what the new heroes were. They never released a trailer for each individual hero, but instead created original heroes for each one. Like they gave us the history of a specific Tiandi, and a specific Nuxia, and a specific Shaolin, rather than give us an explanation as to what they are. It's kind of like if I tried to tell you what every knight was like, or what all knights in general were like based on the story of King Arthur. You know, it's not the same thing. You've got to give an idea of what all knights were like, not just one. But that's exactly what they did with the Wu Lin. They just kind of said, okay, here's a very basic general sense. Like, oh, these were just female bodyguards. I thought the Tiandi were bodyguards. Why would you trade up a Tiandi for a Nuxia? Or is that trading down? What's trading up? It doesn't make sense. You need to be better at making the lore here. So I really, really don't like that. So I did a bit of the legwork for them. In my opinion, what happened was before all the wars started in wherever the Wu Lin came from, the Nuxia were dancers. They were performers. They went from town to town performing and dancing and looking very pretty. But then as the wars got more serious, they needed dancers less and needed warriors more. So the Nuxia started taking their training as dancers and performers and picked up some swords and said, all right, we're going to start taking what we learned from dancing and performing and making it part of our fighting art. They perfected the use of the hooked swords. They began training to become more elegant and aggressive fighters. And now they are some of the most deadly assassins the Wu Lin have to offer because they are just so skilled, elegant, and flexible. So it's a great combination of their dancing skill mixed with fighting arts. And now they are either hired hands to help kill other enemies, or they're hired as bodyguards, or they're hired as sexy prostitutes or performers for people who they will eventually kill later when they're hired to backstab them. There's a lot you could do with the Nuxia, but it's never ever looked into, which is very sad. Now, as for the historical input for who the Nuxia were, there isn't anything to say. Nuxia are not quite like Onabu geisha. The name means the same, but the cultural meaning is much different. Onabu geisha had a major place in Japanese history. There are named Onabu geisha throughout Japanese history who have done amazing, incredible things. Nuxia is a term that you mostly just see in Chinese literature. While there were Chinese warrior women in history, they did not make as big a name for themselves as the Onabu geisha did, and because of this, there's not much to say. The Nuxia were not an official soldier or an officially recognized warrior group or warrior class or warrior people like the Onabu geisha were. So, since we can't discuss them much in historical or cultural context, and I wish I could, let's go into their arms and armaments. So, in terms of armor, the Nuxia actually has quite a bit going on. We have a metal or leather cuirass here with shoulder protectors and some vambraces, and all of it's held together by a nice belt around the middle. We got some pointed boots there made out of what looks like leather, and we have, I kid you not, a cape on the back here. And I think that's a little funny because if you're a dancer, wouldn't a cape just get in the way? I mean, it looks flashy and fancy and all that, but I feel like that would just get in the way of your more acrobatic movements. Now, the head here is interesting. The headband would not provide any protection, but it's funny because some of Nuxia's armor can give her helmets. She can have helmets with some of her armor. So, why don't we have that for the default, you may ask? But we don't. We just have this regular old ponytail kind of thing going on, which isn't that great for protection. Now, the weapon, on the other hand, is interesting. These are real Chinese weapons called hook swords. You might remember these being the favorite swords of Jet from Avatar: The Last Airbender. They're beautiful and unique blades, and are mostly used for defense rather than offense. The swords, as the name suggests, end with hooks at the end, and this allows them to reach out and disarm an enemy by either taking the weapon out of their hand, hooking an opponent's neck or arm, or by hooking the swords together for a longer arch swing. The bottom of the swords, as you see here, are like daggers. They're small and pointed and can be used for up-close dagger attacks. And then the finger guards, the hand guards that you see, are also crescent-shaped and bladed for blocking and for punch attacks. Every part of the sword can be used for defense and fighting. I think the only problem is they're a little more showy than they are effective. I wouldn't put this up there on the same level as something like the longsword or the katana. I feel like these are more showy weapons than they are deadly. Not to say that they can't be deadly, but that they just wouldn't be as devastating. I do love these swords, though, and I find them to be very beautiful to watch, though I will admit, again, their lethal potential is in doubt. Now, let me show you my Nuxia. This is my Nuxia. And you'll notice first and foremost that she's much more colorful. She looks a little bit more pretty, like she wanted to be made up some. She's got a lot more design to her. I also want to point out that I did not give her a helmet. And honestly, I just thought that she looked cuter with this head. I thought that this made her look more pretty. It made her look more like a little bit more sweet. In fact, if you look at the hairstyle, she kind of reminds me a bit of Shampoo from Ranma 1/2. And to be frank, if you remind me of Shampoo, you're doing something right. After all, my hair could use it.
Huh? So is this an audience or a mosaic?
Alright, enough of that. Let's talk about how she fights. Now, as an assassin, Nuxia has a temporary guard, but like most assassins, she has ways to make up for this. Nuxia has a 3-hit combo with her heavies and her lights. Her lights come out insanely fast and she uses the butt of her swords to do damage. Also, fun fact, if you parry an opponent's attack, you get a free double light jab to start your next combo. Pretty nifty, I'll show you. So the lights come out like this, and if I parry, I get a free automatic double light jab, which really helps you out. Now, the heavies are actually pretty quick too, as far as heavies go, so it's quite often critical that your opponent reads them fast in order to block. Yeah, like I said, they're blockable, which is exactly what I'm counting on. You'll see what I mean. Nuxia's zone attack is pretty sweet since she hooks the two swords together for a very long-range strike. It's slow and predictable though, and easily blocked. But again,
exactly as planned.
Now, like all assassins, Nuxia has a few cool tricks, one of which being her dodging lights. Here, she's a lot like Berserker. They aren't undodgeable, but they're fast and can help you out of your opponent's swing if your opponent swings wildly. So you always want to be sure to make your dodges count. Usually what I like to do is wait for my opponent to attack me first, and then get in that free attack. If you're feeling lucky, you can even try for a deflect attack. If you dodge into opponent's attack and use a light attack to try and hit your opponent. However, as you saw, there's a slight problem with it. It's the only deflect attack in the game that is not guaranteed. If your opponent pulls up their guard to the top before it can land, it will not land, which is why you always have to be careful about when you land it. But when it's done from the side, one more time. Even that didn't work, which is infuriating to me. This is really infuriating that the light attack deflect would not land. Deflects are very hard to pull off, so when you do pull them off, you want them to matter, you want them to count. And the fact that sometimes it won't count is infuriating, because you feel like, I actually did something good, I accomplished something, yay! Then it fails. It kind of blows. Anyway, all of this is only scratching the surface of Nuxia. See, Nuxia doesn't attack like a normal person. Nuxia has one move that can change the entire meta of the game. It's called a trap attack. In the middle of your heavy, any heavy, you can hit the guard break button and Nuxia will activate a trap attack. Now there are a few rules to this move. Firstly, this can only be done when your opponent's guard is in the place that you intend to attack. So for example, if I swing for the top and my brother tries to block from the top or parry from the top, that's where it will hit. But if I swing from the top and my brother is blocking from the right or left, it doesn't land. Not only this, but the move is also susceptible to a guard break. So as you can see, there are caveats to it, but that's the beauty of this move. You see, the key to the trap attack is it relies on the battle reflexes of your opponent. Nuxia's amazing abilities become so useful in these situations. Most players of For Honor build muscle memory and reflex. They know how to time and how to ready themselves for coming attacks and will quickly move to block it. Nuxia relies on this reflex to trap her opponents and punish them for it. This is why a lot of people hate Nuxia. It's not just because her lights are so fast, it's because she can easily understand where her opponent is going to try to block and prepare for it. Notice how when I swing, my brother immediately knows to put his guard there. By preparing for this inevitability, I know when to throw my trap attack.
Exactly as planned.
But it gets even better. The heavy attack isn't the only move Nuxia has that has this trap ability. She can also do it with her zone attack. If her zone attack is canceled out with the guard break, you can bring your opponent to the ground with her guaranteed very high damage heavy attack. So, in conclusion about the trap attack, it's phenomenal for when your opponent has a guard reflex. But let's say that your opponent gets smart and realizes, oh no, he's going for my right side. That means that all I need to do is move my right guard away from there and he'll just guard break it, just like that. Well, you know what that spot's called? That spot that he's leaving completely open for me, that he thinks I'm going to do a trap attack at? You know what that's called?
It's free real estate.
So do you see why I love Nuxia so much? What else can I say that I haven't already said? With enough creativity in bait attacks and with the proper application of trap attacks, there is no enemy you can't fell. I will give you one word of warning though. Nuxia has a weakness. The assassin class. Since assassins have a temporary guard, some assassin players will know to simply dodge out of the way of her trap attack and rather than try to block it. So this does make traps a bit more difficult for her when fighting assassins. But that's all there is to Nuxia for now, so what do you say we have a little duel? Alright, now we can just do it.
这昼夜，将化作庄周变成蝴蝶，驾轻云穿过繁枝茂野。纵然是群山层层叠叠，也无心再次留。 情圆缺。你就是忽然红了枫叶，才会让我的思念漫山遍野。你就是泪浸白了初雪，才会如离人来去飘散摇曳。你就是你染红了岁月，改变我黑白而无言的世界。
All right, folks, and that about does it for Nuxia. Let's go ahead and get into her executions. Alright guys, we've talked about how the Nuxia looks, the culture behind them, and the fighting style, which I love. Let's go ahead and dive into the executions. Not a lot to go through, so let's not waste any time. Here we go. Blazing Swallow Kick. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I really love this move. It is her feat execution. One of the feats that Nuxia has is she can drop caltrops along the ground, which can damage opponents. So here what she's doing is she's throwing some caltrops to trip up the enemy, doing a butterfly kick, which uses both feet to kick the opponent, then uses the hook swords to drag them to the ground. The only problem with this move is I don't see it as deadly, unless, where do the hooks land? Let's see where the hooks land here. They just go into the back. That's not necessarily deadly. Caltrops aren't deadly weapons. They're debilitating. They're supposed to slow down an enemy's advance. Kicking to the head wouldn't kill, and hooking them in the back wouldn't kill. I think this is very stylish and very cool, but it's not deadly, so I'm going to have to knock this one down to a 6 out of 10. Really cool, though. I do like it. It's one of my favorite executions that she's got. Very pretty, very cool, but just not deadly. 6 out of 10. Hook, line, and sinker.
Another one.
Okay, this one might actually be deadly. Okay, so she hooks the swords together, swings at the foot, they dodge that, but then take it in the back, and then right to the throat. Very cool. Okay, I like this one. This one's an 8 out of 10. I think it could be deadly. I think it's asking a bit much. I mean, don't get me wrong, hooking the swords is an actual way to use them. It's been proven. But there are questions, I admit. Like, how did you get that accurate? Are you sure you were able to bring them to the ground so easily with that swing? It's hard to tell, but hey, looks cool. 8 out of 10, I think really works. Very nice. Coat rack. Oh, I love it. So she plants the dagger end into the back of the neck, then hooks the sword that she planted to bring them down. As it comes out, the sword comes out, grabs both, and then impales through the stomach. 10 out of 10. That is beautiful. That is an excellent execution. It's easily the best so far. Oh my gosh, that was awesome. I love it. 10 out of 10. There's no words. There's no words for how awesome that looked. And you know what's funny? The way she put that through the back of his neck, that alone would be the kill shot, but she just finishes him off. It's so awesome. I love it. Merciless Spiral.
Nope.
Wow. Okay, so, first, swings a punch which she kicks aside, slashes the back, and then swings both swords through the neck to decapitate. Here's the thing, hook swords like this probably wouldn't be that sharp along the inside edge, which seems a little silly, but they probably wouldn't be sharp enough to decapitate so easy. But assuming that these For Honor swords could, I'll give it credit that it used both swords instead of just one like the Armour did in that one execution. And I love the rotation that she uses. The rotation, the spinning helps build up momentum, which is good. So I'll give this a 9 out of 10. Very cool. Good finish. I like it. And the pose at the end is awesome. So hard to hate on this one. Looks really good. Bai Mao Nu.
Why are we still here? Just to suffer?
Bai Mao Nu means the white-haired girl, and it's likely a reference to a Chinese opera by the same name. And this is fitting, as the way she circles her enemy in that mincing manner you see is typical of women movement in Chinese theater at times. Again, yeah, this kind of quick stepping movement that she does around him, very similar of a woman's dance in Chinese theater. So let's go over the way she strikes him. Is it deadly? So the first strike. Multiple jabs to the abs, one in the back, then one in the back of the leg, none of that deadly. The one into the throat is deadly. So that last one is deadly, but here's my problem with it. None of that right there would have been enough to keep him on the ground. I feel like he would have tried to get up or would have tried to resist. So it's asking a bit much. I'll give this a 7 out of 10. This is a 7 out of 10. It's very cool. It's culturally cool. I mean, it reminds me of Chinese dancers, which is what she is. She's a dancer. So I don't hate it at all. I think it's pretty. I think it's kind of creative, but it takes a lot of time to do, which you don't want, and none of those previous attacks would be the deadly blow, I'm afraid. So, 7 out of 10. What can you do? A short rest. Eight out of 10. This is, what can I even say to that? So she takes a load off on his back.
Phrasing?
Then plants the hook on his throat. And just cuts his throat. Okay, that's cool. I'll give it credit. That's cool. And I like that she didn't just decapitate. Imagine if she just decapitated. Wouldn't that have been weak? Okay, so yeah, 8 out of 10. This is pretty good. I love how collected she is. Just, I'm done. This is boring me. Definitely like that. Crossed moon snap. No, that decapitation was way too easy. I do like this though, the way he guards, he assumes that she's going to put the cross in front of him. But she doesn't, she puts it behind him, which is very good. I like that. But the decapitation was way too easy. I'm gonna have to give this one a 5 out of 10. This is a 5 out of 10 for me. It's effective, but no, I just don't buy the ease of that decapitation. That's all there is to it. I just don't buy it. 5 out of 10, still fair. Hair sweep. Okay, this one, let's have fun. Okay, so hooks the leg and sweeps out from under him, so he does a complete flip. I don't buy that. I don't buy the flip. The only thing I buy about this is that she could hook and sweep him off his feet, but not that flip that he does. No. But then striking him down and holding him down with the sword, good. And then a strike to the neck with the bottom blade, that's good. So all of that after that point is good. I'm gonna give this a 8 out of 10. This is an 8 out of 10 for me, but only because it's hard for me to buy that flip. It's just, how hard did you sweep that leg out from under him to get that flip? That just seems silly to me, but whatever, that's my personal opinion. Roulette of Ruin. This was Nuxia's default execution. Let's see it again. So she basically reverse holds her swords and does a spinning movement, strikes the neck, then yanks down while, and she decapitate. What? Okay, the only way this works is if all of her previous hits hit the head. None of them do. And then she no, that ruined it. That ruined it. Oh, that was so good, and then it was ruined. 4 out of 10. I hate it. I hate that you did that. The spinning is fine. The blading is fine. But then, I don't mind if you hook him and drag him to the ground. I'd buy it. But decapitation too? Oh, come on. Guys, I can't stress this enough. I'm sick of the ease of these decapitations. As I've said before, the human head cannot come off that easy. And yet, they just take it off like it's just tied on by a little bit of masking tape. 4 out of 10. I've got to set a precedent here. Sorry to end on that bad of a note, guys, but those are all the executions. Just not a lot to go over. So, final thoughts on the Nuxia. She's one of my favorites. I'm not spectacular with her, but quite often when I'm in a PvP match, she's one of my best to choose because so many players just guard on reflex. And if you can master when to use her trap attack, you can bait and play with your food. You know, because sometimes they'll realize, oh, she's going to trap attack, I need to move my guard, and then you hit them with a real attack. Don't actually do the trap attack. Other times they'll try to dodge you because they think, oh, if I dodge you, then that way I can avoid the trap attack. Guard break them instead. And then they may think, okay, you know what, they're gonna guard break me if I dodge, and they're gonna hit me if I move my guard, so I'll just guard it, and then you trap attack them. They don't know what to do, they don't know what the best way to respond is, so it's literally a game of rock, paper, scissors. What move are they gonna make, what move am I gonna make, and which one's gonna be the best move in that instance? Just play with your food, that's all I can say. Nuxia is a wonderful character, I love her moveset, I love her weapons. She's one of my favorites. Oh, and because a few people asked, since I put the Jormungandr with the Centurion, and I put the Nobushi with the Warden, who would I put Nuxia with? I thought about it. The only one that makes sense for me is Black Prior, because Black Prior has the ultimate defense in the game, and Nuxia has the ultimate defense breaker in the game. So I think it just fits. So enough about that, we're done. Next time, folks, we're moving on to the heavy of the Wu Lin faction, the General, the military commander, Zhang Jun. See you there, guys.